Hi, I'm Lisa from sewnlife.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this denim bag. So it's made out of old pieces of jeans, and inside it's lined and it's got elasticated pockets and on both sides, and also a denim divider. So I'll show you how to do all of those things in the video, so let's get going. So what you're going to need to make the denim patch is the different denims, and that can be whatever you like. I've got a piece here which is a newly cut piece, so this was used to make a pair of jeans that was left over, and these are two pair of jeans that I bought from a charity shop. They're both actually men's jeans, and I just bought the biggest size that I could so that I could get the most fabric possible. And they're all sort of like a mix of denims. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to need to cut out squares of denim. Now for this pattern, we're going to use a square of 10 by 10 centimetres or 4 by 4 inches. So I've just cut that out of an old cereal box, and that's the template that I'm going to use to cut all my pieces of denim out. So I actually got a stack of pieces here that I've cut out. What I tend to do is I tend to use sort of 4-ish different denims, but what you can do is you can have from the same jean. So for example, those two are from the same jean. If you want to turn one over, if you see it's still obviously the same denim, but turned over, it just gives it a very different look. So you can actually increase sort of the variety of the look just by turning it over like that. Or what you can do is, for example, these are from the same denim as well, and there's a grain going through which gives like a little bit of a pattern. So if you turn one of them on its side, look, it gives a different look again. So by using the same denims and sort of moving them around, turning them over, you can actually get quite a varied look. Right, so to show you a pattern that I've already made, so I've made one of the panels already which looks like that, and I've got 6 squares going across and 5 squares going down, which is 30, and we're going to make 2 panels like that. So you're going to need to cut out 60 squares in total. So it might take a while, but it will be worth it. So just to show you, this is how I cut out panels. What I will generally do is, if I've got like a pair of jeans, I'll generally cut one of the legs open. So cut down one of the seams and then open it out, because that's where you get like the biggest piece of denim, really. So I'll open it out, and then I will literally put my template on there, draw around it, and then cut out. So I'll draw around it and cut out. You'll need to decide if you want to incorporate seams. You'd need to decide, for example, do you want to incorporate this? Do you want to cut that off and just have it clean? It's completely up to you, and that's what makes these bags really, really personal, and they look so unique because every single bag will be totally different. So this is the panel that we're aiming to get to. This is the first one. We're going to make the next one. So remember, we've got 6 squares across and 5 squares down. The finished size, so I'm using a seam allowance of 1 centimetre. So the finished size across will be 54 centimetres and down will be 44 centimetres, or 21 inches by 17¼ inches. Okay, so that's what we're going to aim for. Let's put that to one side. What we're going to do now, and I really like doing this bit, is we're going to create the patchwork. So with your squares, literally just start laying them down randomly, completely randomly, and start building up your patchwork. The next stage is to actually number these lines so that you can remember when you've done them where they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this the number 1, and I'm going to draw an arrow because it's that way up, and then that one is number 2, like that, and then I'm going to go all the way down so that I know which row is which. Now the next stage is that you need to pin each of the rows together. So I've just literally pinned one little clip in the back and pinned those together. So I'm going to go along and do all of the other rows now, so that I've got then 5 rows of pinned pieces take them to the sewing machine and sew each of the pieces together. All of the 5 seams are 5 rows have all been sewn separately. So what you need to do now is iron these seams flat. So you can either just do it with an iron, or you can just do it with your fingers, or I've got like a little tool here which just is used to turn corners inside out. You can do it with that, whichever you choose. But you need to do this all the way down on all 5 of the rows, and they do need to be nice and flat so that you get ready for the next stage. So now that the rows are ready, we're going to start attaching each of the rows to the next one. So we've got number 1 there and number 2 here. So what we're going to do is just pin them, but what you want to make sure is that the lines, so the seams, match up. So I'm going to put a pin there and that seam, and then same on the next one, so that when I then take them over to the machine, I know that they're going to correspond. Now some of the denims might have more stretch, one might have more stretch than the other, so it is possible that some are slightly out of line, which is why this process helps. Okay, so there we go. Take that to the machine now and sew along there. And then I'm going to do all the same with the rest of the rows, matching them up so that I complete the big panel. So all the pieces are sewn together now. So let's go to the back, and all of the horizontal seams need to be pressed down now. So again, do it with your fingers or an iron or some kind of roller. Okay, so I'm going to go along. I'm going to press them all with my fingers to get them open, and then I think I'm probably going to go over everything with an iron just to make it really crisp. The next stage is going to be to top stitch. So it's going to be either side of all of the seams. So you're going to go all the way down for all of the seams like that, and then all the way across there as well. And it will just give it a little bit more of a professional finish. Now you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but just to give you an idea, that's the one that hasn't been top stitched, and then this one has been top stitched. So that's the difference of how it looks. So here's an example of what it's going to look like. So you've got your seam running through the middle, and then either side you've got a line of stitching, one here and one the other side, and they're both about 2 or 3 millimeters away from the seam. Okay, so both of the panels are complete now, both top stitched, and it's worth at this stage just giving them a bit of a measure to check that they haven't changed in shape. So this still measures 54 by 44, which is what they were supposed to at the beginning, but because there's so many pieces being stitched together, it is worth just checking so that you know whether you need to change the dimensions of the lining or of the foam at all. So the next step is to give some shape to the denim patches, and what I've chosen to use is this foam here. So it's actually 1/2 centimetre thick, and it's not fusible, so it can't be actually ironed on, it has to be attached. Now this will give it a little bit of solidity, and what I've done is cut out the foam exactly the same size as the 2 denim pieces, and then attached it to the denim by doing a zigzag stitch all the way around. Now what that actually does is it compresses it as well at the edge, so it makes it easier to sew onto other things as well, because the seam is slightly compressed. So same size as the denim, 54 by 44 centimeters, and just zigzag stitched all the way around. So we're going to make the straps now, and the fabric that I've chosen is a cotton fabric that's quite a heavyweight fabric, and I'm going to make the straps and also the inside lining in that same fabric. So you're going to need two pieces that are exactly the same size, so they are 8 centimeters across and 42 centimeters wide, and that is the same as 3 inches by 16.5 inches. So those are the two strap pieces, and then you also need two pieces of interlining which are exactly the same size. They are going to be ironed on there. So this is a fusible interlining, and it's a lightweight, and all this does is it's just going to give it a little bit more extra stability so that the handles can be a little bit more solid. So I'm going to take that across now and iron that on. So the interlining is now attached to the wrong side of each of the handles. So what you need to do now is press it in half, and I've got the iron on as well at the same time, so I'm just going to do it by hand first, because the interfacing, now that the interfacing is on there, it will just keep it more crisp when it's folded. So I'm just going to give that a fold, give that an iron, not a fold, and then I'm just going to turn each of the sides in just by about a centimetre, a little bit less than that, all the way down. And then iron it. So once both of the pieces have been ironed, there's one that's not put together yet, fold them over and clip them together. Now these two sides need to match up, and what we're going to do now is take them over to the sewing machine and sew along that length and then the other. What we're going to do now is the next step, which is to fold it in half. So I have measured here an 8 centimetre or 3 inches mark, and that end as well. And all that's going to tell me is where to stop sewing, because what I'm going to do now is essentially fold this in half and pin it, and I'm going to sew those pieces together, but stop when I get to the 8 centimetre mark. So the handles are both done now, and they look great. They'll be really stable and secure actually. So what we need to do now is attach them to the bag. So they're going to sort of sit like that on the bag, but we need to put them on that way. So I'm going to put them on this second denim square, so the seam here. So do it there and there, and I will have this seam, the sewn seam, looking up at me, and when that's folded like that, that sewn seam will be on the inside, pointing towards the inside of the bag. So I'll do that with both of the pieces. The other one I've already attached, and then I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew across there to attach them, and at the edges I'm going to go over sort of 2 or 3 times just to give it a little bit of extra security, because that's one of the pressure points. That's where it'll be taking the weight of what's in the bag. Both of the handles are on now and looking lovely, and so what we're going to do now is move on to the lining. So this is the lining, and there's 2 pieces. So again, same fabric as I used for the handles, so it's like a strong cotton, heavy cotton. So this measures exactly the same size as the denim, which is 54 centimeters by 44 centimeters, and that's an equivalent to 21 inches by 17.25 inches. And you'll notice that there is a section cut out at the bottom, and this section is 10 by 10 centimeters or 4 by 4 inches, and it's cut out on both sides. And then we're going to make pockets, which are going to be gathered pockets on each of the lining sides. So the fabric here is same fabric again, and that is 50 centimeters by 26 centimeters, which is 19.5 inches or 10.25 inches. So again, same fabric and 2 pieces. So this is the fabric to make one of the pockets. So I'm going to do exactly the same for both the pockets. So essentially what we need to do is make a channel in the top, and also I'll just pin that just to show, keep it there for a second. and also on the bottom as well. So the top and the bottom both have a channel created, and through that channel we're going to put elastic. Okay, so that's going to gather up along the bottom and along the top, and then we're going to put that onto the lining. So first of all, turn the first bit over just by about 7 millimeters, and then the next turn needs to be a centimetre. So that's a bit more of a deeper turn, and the reason for that is that the elastic needs to be able to sit through it quite nicely. Okay, so both of the pockets now have been clipped, pinned, and I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew across the inside line. So you don't sew on the outside, it's on the inside here. So the pockets have been sewn now, and each of them has got the channel at the top and the bottom. So the next thing is to thread the elastic through. So you've got 4 pieces, you need 4 pieces of elastic, and they should all be sort of about 30 centimeters or 12 inches. And each of these pieces is going to be threaded through the channel. You're actually only going to need about 26 centimeters to sit inside, and then you'll have 2 centimeters left at each end, which is where you'll just use a clip and clip it. So let's start threading it through. Right, so the elastic's been put through each of the 4 channels, and you can see I've got a clip on each end. And what I'm going to do now is just take it across to the sewing machine and just go backwards and forwards with the onto the elastic, just to keep it in place so that I can do the next stage. Now that that's sewn, just cut off those little bits of elastic so they're not sticking out anymore. So now we just need to neaten these 4 edges. So you're just simply going to do a double turning. So turn the fabric under by about 7 millimeters, half a centimetre, and then turn it over again, and then go all the way down and just clip it in place. Right, so I've pinned these, and what I'm going to do now is go and sew all along these, just because if you sew it and take it to the lining already with the seams done, it just makes it easier to position it, because these are obviously a bit movable with all these gatherings going on. So it's just I just find it makes it a bit easier at this next stage. Right, so the pocket is positioned on the lining. So the lining's the right way up and the pocket's the right way up, with all of the seams hidden underneath. So the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to position it centrally, and centrally between that top line there and this bottom line here. So because this bit here is actually going to be the flap. So it's between these 2 lines that I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do it by eye, but if you want to measure it, it's about 6 centimeters that side, 6 centimeters that side, which is 2.5 inches, and 15 centimeters or 6 inches that side and that side. So the easiest way to do it is place it by eye, and then do one of the sides at a time. So you're going to pin it, but what you want to do is pin this side so that it's very level. So you only really need sort of 3 pins. Can't really use the clips, you need pins. And then pull that side over so that it all sits nice and neat. Okay, so do one side first, then come over to this side, ow, and then the same again. I'm always doing that with sticking the pins in me. Okay, so the next side as well, and again I'm doing this so that it's trying to do this so it's as straight as possible. Okay, and then you then want to just pin this bottom area. You're going to sew down there, across and up, and I recommend you to do 2 rows of stitching. So I recommend you to do a row of stitching right on the edge, and then another row of stitching on top of the line where you've sewn the seams previously. So when you've sewn the outside edges and got those in place, the best way to do the middle bit is actually just to flatten it out so that you've got a nice flat section to sew down. So do that as a double seam Okay, so both of the pockets are on and I'm really happy with them. They look great. So the next stage is to make the divider structure. So I have used denim here, so you can also use the same lining fabric if you want to, but I've just decided to do it in denim. So I've cut out a piece of denim here, and that is 54 centimeters across and 40 centimeters down, which is 21.25 inches by 15.5 inches. So you can see I've got the seam because I've just cut this out of a leg. I've got this bit on the bottom. So I'm not bothered about all of those imperfections in there. Well, they're not imperfections, they're just part of the fabric. So what you need to do is fold it in half and just top stitch along there. The other three sides don't need anything doing to them because they are going to be caught inside the lining. So now that the top has been sewn, what we're going to do is just slightly taper this off. So I've marked here 2.5 centimeters on each side, or 1 inch, and I'm just going to draw a line from that corner down to that point and then cut. So from there to there, and the same again on this side, there to there, and then just simply cut that off. Okay. Right, so take this divider and match it up to the first side seam with the pockets. So the pockets are the right sides up, and you're just going to pin all along that side with all of those pieces together. And then we want to do exactly the same over the other side. So bring that divider over, line it up, and the same thing, pin that together down that side as well. Right, so now that both of the edges are pinned, take it over to the sewing machine and sew both of those edges together. Right, now both of the sides are sewn, so we now just need to sew the bottom. So same thing, take the bottom two pieces and attach it to the bottom of the denim. Okay, so exactly the same, clip that together and then take that over to the sewing machine and sew it together. You can sort of start to see the shape coming together now. Can you see that's going to be the boxed bottom look? Yep, and there's the bag. Okay, so you can see you're going to have the divider and the pockets either side. Okay, so what we're going to do now is box these corners, so you'll see it sort of naturally sits together. So you're not attaching the denim in here at all. This is just this cream lining. So pin them together. You're going to sew across there and then do exactly the same for this one as well. So the bottom's finished now, is boxed, and the lining bag is now made. Look, so you've got the two pockets on either side, and then you've got the divider, and I think it's looking pretty nice actually. Right, so back to the outside, the denim. So we've got the two denim panels, and what we're going to do is put them right sides together, and then I'm going to pin all the way around the edge and sew those three edges now. So to box the corners now, you're going to take the corner and turn it into a triangle, and then measure down 10 centimeters from that peak and then pin across there. So you're going to sew across there, and then the other corner is exactly the same, and you're going to sew across there. Right, so now the corners are sewn, what you need to do is cut them off. So leave a good centimetre, cut the first one. Cut the second one. And then let's turn that inside out now. So we're starting to see the bag. Push the corners out. That one's quite easy. It's quite a lot of fabric here. Okay, so this is the shape of the bag. So it's not had the lining added into it yet, obviously, but this is the shape that it's going to be. Right, so I have one more thing that I want to do before I add the lining into the bag, and that is to add a metal clasp. Okay, so it has two pieces like that, which clasp together. They both go on opposite sides of the lining, and they each have like a little backing here. So what happens is you put this on the inside, so the right side, put two little holes, mark two little holes, so the that goes through the two holes in the fabric, and then when it comes through there, that sits on the back of it, and then the metal clasps get folded back and held in position. Okay, so what I'm done is I've marked the central position on both of the pieces of fabric, and I'm going to mark down, I'm going to do it on the back here, I'm going to mark down by 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. Okay, so I'll just mark that with a pencil. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pin out now. I'm going to put the backing there, and I'm just going to draw inside those two shapes, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a tiny little cut through there with my scissors. I'm being really careful because what I don't want to do, there we go, small cut, and the same in there, small cut. Okay, then put the clasp through on the right side and hope that I've done a big enough, yeah, okay. Do smaller rather than larger, because obviously once you've cut it, you've cut it, and that's it. So there's the clasp on the inside, and then I put this on the back, and then just simply fold those two down like that, and it's really tightly secured. Looks lovely. And then the same, just do exactly the same with the other piece on the other side. Now fastens. It's really nice. Okay, so now the lining's ready and the bag's ready, and what we need to do is turn both of them to the wrong side. Okay, so that's the wrong side, and then turn the bag inside out. And this is a stage, put your handles inside, this is a stage at which they are going to be attached. So I always find it best to do the seams first. So first of all, put a clip in the two side seams, one side, then go over to the other side and do the same there, and then pin all the way around. They're pinned together now all the way around, right sides together. So what you need to do now is go ahead and sew all the way around there, but leave this gap. There's a gap here which is about 20 centimeters, so it's quite a significant gap, but that is where the bag's going to be turned inside out, and it's quite a chunky bag, so I've just left a little bit more of a gap, but it doesn't make any difference because once it's turned inside out, it's going to be top stitched, so you won't know how much of that was left there. So that's it, it is finished, and I think it looks fabulous, really nice. So let's have a look inside it. we've got the clasp. There we go. We've got the pockets, the divider, and then the pockets on the other side. So I think it looks really, really lovely. So I hope that you've really enjoyed this video and that your bag looks fabulous. And I am very grateful that you spent your time with me today, so thank you very much. I've got lots of other videos that I think that you'll really enjoy, so pop on over to another one to choose your next project. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, that's fantastic. And I will see you in the next video. So have a great day and thank you again. Bye.